Just to those people who are joining us at the moment, we're just waiting for a few more people to come in from the waiting room. So if you bear with us for a minute, we'll get going in about 1 minute's time. So Niamh, do you want to give people another minute to join, or would you like to get going?
Yeah, there's still quite a few to log on, so if we just give it 1 more minute.
No problem, yeah.
And then we'll get started, thanks. There's still a few joining there now, Carl. So
Still okay, yeah, no problem. We can hang on another little bit.
okay, we might get started then, Carl, if you want to kick off.
Sure, yep. Good afternoon, everybody. You're all very welcome to our webinar today. We've a pretty packed program, as you can see from our agenda there. I'm going to give you a quick update on some government advice we've received. Then we're going to go through our strategic plan survey with Maeve Buckley. Following on from that, then Niamh is going to take the National Quality Standard update. We're going to have a REPS update, and coming then at 2:40 approximately, we'll have a leisure, health and fitness skill net update from Cleena. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If anybody has any questions, if you pop them in the Q&A button down below, we'll try and get to them as much as possible. And also, we are recording the session, and we will put it up on our YouTube channel later on. So as you all know, we did have an update last week from the government, which has put leisure, health and fitness facilities opening on the 7th of June. It wasn't what we had asked for or what we had lobbied for. However, that's where we find ourselves. We do have some updates in relation to the outdoor piece. So we have got confirmation from the department today that outdoor activity, which includes outdoor fitness training in pods of 15, can take place for adults from May 10th. They can happen in multiple pods of 15, which is allowed, once there's sufficient space and no mixing of pod members, including coaches. We had a number of queries from members in relation to hotels. So the official advice we've gotten back is accommodation services, including hotels, B&Bs, self-catering and hostels can reopen on June the 2nd. Services including leisure facilities, indoor restaurants and bar services must be restricted to overnight guests and residents only. So if you are a hotel leisure centre, you can open on the 2nd of June in line with the hotel reopening, but it's for guests and residents only. We're currently still awaiting clarification in relation to children's swimming lessons. And we have been given notification that lifeguard training can take place prior to the 7th of June. We've gone back to the Department of Sport seeking clarification on what exact date lifeguards can start retraining and revalidating on. So as soon as we have that, we will send it out. But there will be an update of all this going out later today into your emails. I'm going to hand over to Maeve Buckley now, who's going to go through the presentation on our strategic development plan. Maeve, it's all yours.
Thanks, Carl. So I'm just going to bring up my slides. So, hi everybody. My name is Maeve Buckley, and I have a small agency called Leading Sport, and I've been helping Ireland Active develop their new strategic plan. So, as a really important part of the strategic plan development, we want to try and listen to as many of the members as possible. So, as part of that process, we had a survey open in March that a large number of you replied to. So, I'm going to talk you through the results of that survey, and hopefully they'll be of some interest. And a number of people within the survey said they'd be willing to contribute some more. So we invited those who replied to that to a focus group. So we had 2 focus group sessions just last week, which again were really helpful and really helped deliver a lot of really interesting insight that we can then use to help shape the new strategy. So I'm going to talk you through the results of the survey and the focus group, and hope you find it interesting. And as always, any other thoughts you might have as well, please share them back afterwards, as we are still developing the strategy. So 140 people replied to the survey, which we were reasonably happy with, because as a representative sample of the membership, it's a pretty good size. So in terms of the regions in which people are based, it was about 56% Leinster, about 24% Munster, 12% Connacht, and 5% Ulster. So actually what that told us is that it was a good representation of the membership, because that would be reasonably indicative of the membership as well. The other there, those 2 were actually Dublin based, so could be added into the Leinster numbers. So are you a member? So 85% of those who replied are members. There was about 11% who aren't members. And we did open it up to non-members, because what we were really trying to understand is what are the motivations of those who aren't members and what's stopping them getting involved, because they clearly have some level of interest because they're following the communications. So how can we reach out to those people better? So we were pleased with an element of non-members replying as well. We asked people what type of facility or group, let's say, that they represented. So it was about 20% local authority, leisure fitness provider, about 20% private leisure, 15% hotel sector leisure fitness provider, and then you can see about 9% education training provider, a number of individuals, exercise professionals, personal trainers, and so on. So again, probably a reasonably good representation of the membership. So then we, once we, I suppose, had understood the breakdown of people, we asked people what was their role, what they believe the role of Ireland Active to be. So here in the right-hand column, you can see a score, which is a weighted average score, because we did ask people to rank the choices. So the most important role of Ireland Active, in the opinion of those who replied, was being the voice of the industry, which, with a weighting of 4.77. And after that, the next most highly ranked thing was lobbying government on behalf of the industry. And then the third most important role, as perceived by the people who replied, was upholding industry standards. So being the voice of the industry, lobbying government on behalf of the industry, and upholding industry standards. So we then asked people how they would rate the relevancy of Ireland Active out of 1 to 10. And that gave a weighted average of 7.42, which is pretty high. Like often in these types of surveys, you might see an average of about 5. So as an average, it was quite good. And the survey as well enables us to kind of break down the levels of dissatisfaction. So for those who rated more low amongst the replies, we were able to see, were they from a particular sector? So to maybe help us understand people's motivations and respond to them better. So then we asked people which of the Ireland Active services are most important to them. And again, you can see a weighted average on the right-hand side. So there were 4 elements with equal weighting, and those were training, advice and guidance, advocacy/lobbying, and networking. So those 4 services were the ones that were perceived as being most important, and followed in 5th place by Garda vetting. And, you know, again, this is important to Ireland Active in trying to understand, is the membership being best served? And we did ask a bit later on in the survey, and I'll show you the answers of any other ideas that people might have around services that we could offer. So we asked people then which services they'd like to see on the annual calendar, so things absolutely happening annually. And the replies there were a little bit different, but training came out by far as number 1, followed by advice and guidance, and followed by advocacy and lobbying, and then by Garda vetting. So what we were trying to, you know, understand with this question, were there some things that people would like to see with even more frequency than others? So we asked people if they believed they got value for money with Ireland Active, and over 80% felt yes. So again, that was relatively reassuring, and a higher percentage probably as well than you would normally see in these types of surveys. But again, it gives us the opportunity with those who answered no to maybe understand, again, to break it down and see, are they from a particular group, and help work better with those people to understand why they feel they aren't getting value for money. We asked people, if they are members, why are they members? And the overwhelming response was to be part of the industry. So that feeling of being part of a greater collective was very important to people, and that feeling, I guess, of strength in numbers and being part of an industry in a sector that has importance. And that was something we were able to tease out further then in the focus groups as well. We then asked people how important is it to either to them or to the company they work for to be a member of Ireland Active. And the weighted average there was 7.49. So again, a pretty good weighting. And I guess then the challenge, you know, to work out is, how do you make it an absolute must, you know, a 10 out of 10 to, you know, for people to give in their next reply. So we then asked people, and this is sort of getting into the strategic direction, what they believe the organisational focus of Ireland Active should be over the next 5 years. And again, if we look at the weighted score on the right-hand side, the 2 things that came out equally were industry standards and also representation of the sector, so to government, sport and other stakeholders. So again, that sort of lobbying piece and an industry standards piece. And those both came out then quite strongly as well in the focus groups. We were able to go into those in a bit more detail. And then we asked some further questions, which were qualitative questions. So we just asked, they were open answered. So I've sort of summarized them here in the one slide, but we asked people, were there other areas of focus that they felt Ireland Active should develop? And there were a number of varied and different responses, but a few things came out a bit more regularly than others. So there was a piece around insurance, and that came out as well in the focus groups about getting access to insurance, and insurance as well for sort of specialist types of facility. There was a piece around what I've described there as specialist age groups, but providing probably training and then access to leisure facilities for certain groups that might be of a certain age group, or maybe of a certain health characteristic or so on, but kind of working probably a bit with health providers in that way as well, but offering services that are quite specialised to people with maybe a certain type of disability or age category. There was a piece around crossover with sport and maybe working more with specific sports in that crossover. There was a piece around Ireland Active getting involved in recruitment within the sector and human resources. and a piece as well about getting kind of smaller gyms involved and having maybe more specialist member services for them. We asked people then in question 14 what income generation strategies they believe Ireland Active should develop. And there were a number of good ideas in there. Again, insurance came up as a possibility, I guess by having sort of a group scheme, by looking more at sponsorship and having more sponsors and partners for the organisation, and by growing the organisation and having more members, and then also by having paid for services like webinars. And then we asked people as well how they believe we could strengthen the Ireland Active brand, and how ambitious we could be around that. And there was quite a lot came out about social media and the importance of social media in public perception and brand building. There was quite a bit as well about building public awareness, that the knowledge of Ireland Active amongst the general public isn't as high as it would be obviously within the industry, and how to go about building that more. Again, about having more members from within the overall sector. And again, a bit about smaller gyms and targeting them and getting them involved. So those were the main takeouts from the survey. And as I said at the end, it was anonymized, as surveys should be, but we did ask people if they would like to contribute more, that they could give us their phone number, email, and a good number of people did. So we invited them to a focus group, which took place last week. And in the end, we had enough people for 2 focus groups, so we split them. But there was a mixture of different types of facilities represented, which was good. So we had local authority, we had a water park, we had an education provider, facility that's gym only, a hotel leisure, a gym for people with disabilities. So a sort of a broad church of people and members at the focus groups, which is great because it gave us a good bunch of opinions, and geographically spread around the country as well. So the first question we asked was, as an industry body, how can we help them, and what new services would they like to see introduced? So there was a lot of chat and discussion amongst both the focus groups, but in summary, probably the top 3 things that came out was that people would like to have shared networking groups, but networking groups that might be quite specific, so might be gym only or might be water park only or so on, so that these networking groups could be quite kind of tailored to the specifics within that. And there was a piece as well that, like previously, obviously Ireland Active would have done regional meetings and face-to-face stuff, but Zoom and what we're doing right now has taken over because of COVID. But that could be a good thing for keeping things like these networking groups going, have them continue to do them over Zoom, as well as some face-to-face stuff in due course. So that was the first one. Then the second one was about wanting to get the industry more regulated, and we saw that as well come out in the survey. So, that there can be, I suppose, that the barriers to entry into the industry can be low, and that individuals can pop up, or maybe individuals in facilities without proper qualification or regulation. And what can Ireland Active do, or what should Ireland Active do to help regulate that, and what sort of standards should be in place, given that so much of the industry does work to such high standards? How can it ensure some regulation around it? And then the third discussion point was around insurance, which we also saw in the survey, and about wanting affordable insurance for the industry, especially for those with water-based facilities, but in general as well, and how Ireland Active could maybe play a role in working with that and getting sort of group insurance or affordable insurance. So that was the first question. Then again, we asked people what they believed should be the area of future focus in the new strategic plan. So to tease out a bit more some of the stuff we'd seen in the survey. And the sort of things we spoke about were that people felt the work done during the COVID time in lobbying government had been very effective, and to continue to do that and to continue to work with those types of stakeholders. There was a piece about being seen as the leader in the industry. And part of that had to do with public awareness, and again, which we saw in the survey. So how can we ensure that the general public are more aware of Ireland Active? Then there was a piece around networking, which obviously came across as very valued within the industry, within the membership, to continue to work on the industry standards and also on education and training within the industry. There was a discussion point about retaining some flexibility, and especially in the post-COVID world, as we all now know, things can change so quickly. So to have some kind of built-in flexibility in the strategic plan. Again, insurance came out, and also about reps and the value of reps, and again about communicating reps out to the broader public. We asked people, and this was tied into the sort of industry standards and industry regulation discussion point, but we asked people if they would be willing to sign up to a membership charter or a code of conduct and joining the organisation. And the thinking here is that currently to join Ireland Active, you pay a membership fee, but there isn't actually a code of conduct or membership charter as such. And then a certain percentage of the membership do the national quality standards, which is a bit like a code of conduct, but a larger one. So it was sort of teased out around that area, because clearly people had a lot of questions around regulation and maybe wanting more regulation in the industry. So we wanted to understand that a bit better, but there were sort of mixed views on it. People felt that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. So you might have to have a sort of a tiered membership charter, tiered code of conduct, because some facilities are much smaller than others and have different levels of resource. Some people felt that the national quality standards already is that sort of membership charter or code of conduct. Others felt, yes, straight off, that a collective code of conduct could be very powerful. And then there was a point that some facilities do their own sort of quality standards, but don't do the national quality standards. So very interesting discussion, probably inconclusive in terms of how it should go, but clearly a lot of people had done quite a lot of thought on that and a lot of thinking on it. Then we asked people what their top 3 challenges as a business are, and it was getting the business back up and running post-COVID, which naturally you would expect, and it's probably the concern of a lot of you today, even on this webinar. A lot around staffing and retaining staff post-COVID and in general within the industry. And then things around operating profit, obviously tied into the previous 2 points. And then again, insurance came up, and then more kind of specifics around swimming lessons and maybe getting more vulnerable or disadvantaged groups back to the gym, and some stuff around specifics around swimming pools as well. And then finally, and this was to help us understand how we might best communicate with members, but we asked people what communications channels are most useful to them and their biggest source of information in the industry. So social media came out really strongly, as you'd imagine, Instagram and Facebook being the kind of 2 main ones, it seemed, but a bit of TikTok, maybe for younger audiences, and sort of LinkedIn for more kind of a business piece. And then what came out quite strongly as well is people do find the information that's fed back from Europe Active and UK Active useful. And also again, that this forum that we're using now, the likes of Zoom meetings and webinars for networking, have been really useful. So to retain an element of this, even once it goes back to the sort of post-COVID world where we can all meet again face to face. So thank you, that's it from me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I think I saw there was one question there, but I'm not sure if that was for me. So I might pass it over anyway to you, Niamh, and I'm going to pass back over to you. And I'm sure the slides are available if people want them to share. So that's it from me, and thank you.
Perfect, thanks so much, Maeve. Yeah, that question that came in there is about the NQS, so I'll follow up with that one. I'm just going to share now. Give me 2 seconds. So I'm just going to kick off then with the NQS timeline. So obviously today, the 5th of May, the online webinar. The online applications are going to open on 25th of May. These will remain open for 1 month, so you'll have to the 25th of June. In that time, you can log in as many times as you need to, but it should be completed by 25th of June. From June to August, that's when your online and your on-site audits will take place. And then come September, we should have all the audits completed, all documentation should be completed. And then October, you will have your provisional award. Please be aware this is provisional and this is based on your online application and any changes that may need to be imposed based on the auditor's report. From mid-October, we will host the jury meeting. For those that don't know, this is a panel made up of independent members from the health and leisure industry, and their role is to review and verify the results. So then, the pricing structure, we have kept the pricing structure the same as last year. It was reduced last year due to the financial constraint imposed by COVID, and they'll be the same this year. So you can see there for a leisure facility, a hotel leisure facility, it will be $570. And for a fitness facility, so without a swimming pool, it will be €370. Just to make you aware, we are decreasing the price, same as last year, but we are being funded partially through SkillNet. So therefore, I will need to issue you with 2 invoices, but it'll be for the total amount of either $570 or $370, just in case you're wondering why you're getting 2 invoices from me. It will just make up the total. Just the NQS structure then. So there's 3 categories: your leisure, hotel, leisure, and fitness. And within those, you have 3 levels that you can achieve. So you've either the Achieved Award, Exceeded, or Outstanding. So similar to bronze, silver, and gold. Just a bit on the actual achieving the standards then. Minimum on the scoring criteria, sorry, on the minimum, you have to be able to achieve 100% at the achieved level. So you must be able to meet all of the achieved level. If you don't, if you tick no for any of the achieved level, you won't get a result at the end, and therefore you wouldn't be eligible to gain the award. In order to gain the exceeded standard, you need to be able to achieve 100% at the achieved level and 70% at the exceeded level. And then for the outstanding, to come out with that award, you need 100% at the achieved level, 70% at the exceeded level, and to be able to achieve 60% at the outstanding level. So the criteria will cover 4 areas of safety, hygiene, human resources, and customer service. The safety is quite a big one. So for those that don't know what the criteria looks like, when you log in, there are a lot of criteria, a lot of questions under safety. So please don't be overwhelmed when you log in. But the other 3 aren't as overwhelming, I suppose. So with regards to criteria changes for this year, COVID-19 criteria was included last year, so that is obviously still there and just been updated slightly. The 2020 criteria has been removed because this campaign has ended. However, we have included some similar questions around sport, around women in sport. So you'll find some criteria on that. And I suppose just to mention as well, some of the criteria changes have been implemented due to feedback from yourselves. So some has been reviewed and maybe tweaked slightly. So we do welcome all feedback on the criteria. The next one, a safety question 11, outstanding. So an occupational first aid responder trainer is on the staff or in the group and available to deliver in-house training courses. That's what it previously was. It's been tweaked slightly, so it'll now, there's no need for it to be in-house training now. So once you can show that you have access to high standard first aid responder trainer externally or in-house, that's fine. Safety, question 18, at the exceeded level. All staff have been trained externally in how to take pool water tests. So again, tweak slightly, but this time it doesn't have to be externally. Once you show you have an internal trainer to show how to take the water pool test, then that's fine. Question 23 at the exceeded level. So previously there is sloped step access or beach style access to the pool. It was agreed this wasn't a fair criteria as it relates to the structural development of the building, and it can't be amended once the pool is built, so it was decided that we've removed that question altogether. Question 47, the outstanding, the equipment is colour contrasted. So previously that was just a straightforward yes or no answer. We've changed it. We're going to change to a percentage, and I think that is a little bit more fair because it gives people time to implement the changes as they go on to when they're purchasing new equipment to hopefully purchase one that is colour contrasted. Ease of access. So previously it was straightforward. There are 5 or more disabled parking spaces. So this has been changed now. So it's going to be based on how many car park spaces you have. It's recommended that there should be 1 disability car parking space for every standard 25 spaces and a minimum of 3 disability car spaces for the next 25 to 50. A minimum of 5 disability car spaces should be allocated for every 50 to 100 spaces. So I think it makes just a little bit more fair on the size of your facility. It takes that into account rather than just straightforward, you have 5 or not. For those that haven't logged in before, so you log on to our website, irelandactive.ie. You click into the login tab up at the top. You'll need your login details for this. If you don't have them, contact myself, drop me an email and I can get them over to you. So you log in. You need to accept the terms and conditions of the NQS. You need to request an invoice. So I'll get a notification, I'll send the invoice to you, unlock the system for you, and then you'll be able to carry on. You need to enter the details, so the coordinator and the facility name and the award type. So obviously if you're a leisure facility, a hotel leisure, or a fitness. So fitness is no swimming pool. You'll come up to your member dashboard. If you click on the NQS area, that will log you into the criteria. You'll see there's 4 sections up at the top. There's safety, hygiene, customer engagement, and HR criteria. You need to click into one. So if you click into safety, all the questions then come up. You have to work your way through the questions. Please ensure you click save, because if you go into the next question without it, your answer won't be saved. You'll see there that the achieved, you need to click yes, as I mentioned. If you click no, you won't get the award. You need to be able to meet all of the criteria at the achieved level. Once you click yes, it'll bring you on to the exceeded questions and carry on then. If you click no, it won't let you move on to the outstanding. So you need to be able to click yes, and then you'll be able to move on to the outstanding criteria. When you've gone through all of your questions in all 4 categories, you can press submit all questions, which is up at the top. Please do not press submit all questions if you haven't finished your application, because that will close it out for you. Under your manage your profile, once you submit all questions, it will give you your provisional award. If you find that you submit all questions and it says your provisional award is none, that means there's an error somewhere, so you can contact myself and I can have a look into it for you. So at the end, you should be able to see your provisional result. So last year, we implemented standard advanced upload criteria. So these were criteria that we had asked you to send on to us prior to the audit. The feedback was it worked really well from a member's view and an auditor's point of view. So we're keeping that in place. It will be done through WeTransfer. I'll have the list of documentation that we require, and I'll send it on to everybody who registers. What we do ask is you try and keep it as straightforward as possible. So each criteria category, you should have 4 folders, and then you should have subfolders within them folders. This is just so the auditor can access the information as quickly as possible. So examples of documents that we would request in these advanced uploads would be safety statements, risk assessment, NLPs, checklists, policies. These must be submitted after you complete your online application. Please don't think, I'll do my application and then a couple of weeks I'll send on the documentation. We need them to be submitted as soon as you do the online application. You won't hear from your auditor until you have submitted all of the advanced upload that we're asking for and the online application has been completed. So that's a quick overview of how it's going to run for this year. We are hoping that we will be back in person for our award ceremony in November. And also, I suppose, just to make you aware, from last year, people have been asking, so I do have awards, physical awards, but we're just waiting for ledge centres to get back open before we can issue those out, if anybody's wondering where their award is from last year. I think that's all. If you have any questions about the NQS, feel free to drop me an email or into the info account and we'll be able to get back to you. And like I said, I will email out the opening date, which is the 25th of May, but we'll send a reminder prior to that. I'm going to pass you over now to Stephanie. She's going to go through some of the reps and how it links into the NQS as well. So Stephanie, I'm going to pass over to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Niamh. I'm going to hope that my internet plays ball. Sometimes after lunch it can go a bit dodgy, so if I drop out the video, please don't be offended. It's just the internet connection. I might just need to drop it. But yeah, I guess for those who aren't familiar, my name is Stephanie. I'm the registrar for Reps Ireland, and I wanted to just use today as an opportunity to kind of give you guys a little bit of an update, a little bit of an overview on what Reps is, the work we do, and I guess link it into that NQS criteria, because you will see in that criteria there is a section around Reps and getting your staff registered. So just to begin there on that contact info slide, I've just popped 2 different email addresses, one for myself, registrar@repsireland.ie, and one for Cian, who is our Reps Ireland administrator in the info at repsireland.ie account. If you need any information following on from today or even in the future around Reps, please get in contact with either of us and we'll be able to hopefully address any questions or queries that you might have. So I think just to move on to an overview. So I've popped the next slide in just to show you guys, I guess, an overview of the organisation and maybe to inform anybody who's on the call who wasn't aware of what Reps is, just about some of the work that we do. So Niamh, if you could move on to the next one when you get a moment there. Great, thanks a million. So for those who aren't familiar, I guess Reps stands for the Register of Exercise Professionals in Ireland. I guess the idea behind Reps is to promote, maintain and promote professional standards within the industry. We operate completely independently from any education providers or any facilities in Ireland, and primarily exist for the kind of promotion of the fitness professionals. I guess the reason or the way that people would join the register is they would need to complete their qualifications with one of our approved providers, and what we do is we do a lot of work in the background in terms of quality assuring fitness education in Ireland to make sure that it's adhered to certain standards and that the graduates coming out of different courses are meeting certain standards, particularly for the employers within the industry. So each of our education providers are audited independently by our team of auditing personnel every 2 years to maintain and receive their accreditation through us. So there's a full list of the approved providers available on our website, which I'll talk you through in a few moments' time as well. I guess there's 2 major updates in terms of what I wanted to share with you guys here today in relation to some of the work that's been going on with Reps Ireland. First and foremost, I guess we have a new website which is up and running. We launched the new website in January of this year, so quite a lot of work went on in the background last year in getting that ready to be developed and ready for launch early this year. So we're delighted to have that up and running and encourage anybody who wants to take a look. The link is in the slides here, which I'm sure we'll circulate to you guys afterwards, but do take a look at the new website. There's a couple of new features there that are quite useful, particularly from an employer's perspective. And we have a member directory, which I will talk you through in a moment's time, which will kind of display any of our registered members. You'll be able to verify qualifications for anybody that's on the register already. Particularly important, I guess, for employers maybe in terms of recruitment, looking at applications for job adverts that are coming in. It can be useful to check the directory to make sure that their qualifications align to our standards and things like that. And we have introduced continuous professional development. We have a library of courses that we're developing at the moment with our partners in the UK, PD Approval, who look after our CPD accreditation services. So we have a library of courses that is kind of in development at the moment, and each of our courses that are approved are going to be listed on the website there too. So again, I'd encourage you guys to take a look if you have the opportunity to have a look at some of the developments in terms of CPD. We've added a couple of new sections to the website that we didn't have in the past, which kind of relate to the next 3 different items in terms of news articles, industry updates, and job adverts. So again, any kind of industry specific information or anything that's relevant to our membership base will be posting on our website and through our social media platforms as well, and through communications with our members. And I guess for the employers on the call, we do have a job advertisement section available on our website too. So if you have any job adverts related to the fitness industry, specifically around like the fitness instruction, personal training type roles, get in contact with us. We will be able to share those on our website and in turn circulate to our registered members, to our social media platforms, newsletters, and communications in that way. I guess the second thing that I wanted to touch on was the development that we have made with a Reps Ireland strategic plan. So this is something that wasn't really in existence up until now, and we've kind of spent a good bit of time last year again engaging with our stakeholders, our members, the employers, maybe some on the call that are here today as well, and the general public to get some insights in terms of the vision, the mission, the objectives of what Reps is across the next number of years. So we have finalised that strategic plan to this point, and are hoping to launch that very shortly in the near future. There's obviously been quite a bit of work in terms of strategy, both on a Rep side and an Ireland Active side. So we'll be looking to launch both of those plans in the near future, and I guess to give you an idea of the vision and missions and things that we have set up. In terms of the website, then I said I want to just talk you through the approved providers list and the Find a Trainer feature. So this is just a quick screen grab, I guess, of the website itself. Under the Education Providers tab, you'll see approved providers will list up there. And if we just go on to the next slide, I think I have a screenshot of what that approved providers list looks like. So this isn't great quality because it's just a screenshot, but if you take a look at the website, what you'll find here is a list of all the different education providers that have been independently audited through Reps Ireland, and what qualifications they're approved to deliver, where they're located, and when their expiry date for accreditation is due. So for example, if you were hiring a fitness instructor or a personal trainer and wanted to ensure that the qualification that they have completed aligns to the Reps Ireland standards, you can check this list and see what providers are listed here, and kind of give you a good indication of what providers will be available to, or what graduates will be able to join our register. In terms of the actual exercise professional themselves, so under the exercise professional feature, there's the Find a Trainer tab, and what this will bring up is a member directory. So again, you can search anybody on the register here, and you can search them by last name, by their qualifications, by their town or their county. And again, the screen grab on the screen now will just display what the directory itself looks like. It'll show you their membership number, their qualifications, their name and their location, their expiry date for their membership there too. So again, just gives you a little bit of I guess quality assurance in terms of checking qualifications for registered members for the purposes of hiring. The register itself then I guess has a number of different categories. So you'll see from the previous slide that we had a number of categories under each person's name, depending on what qualifications it is that they've achieved. So there's kind of 3 different EQF levels that we would adhere to in terms of standards and qualifications. There's the fitness instructor and group fitness instructor under the EQF level 3, the personal trainer and Pilates under EQF level 4, and an exercise for health specialist award under EQF level 5. Which is a relatively new category that we've added in the last year or so. But they're the different levels that we would approve on the register. So we would encourage you again just to be familiar with that, I guess, that language and the leveling and the different things there, because quite often, I guess, the levels differ in Ireland and the UK and across Europe. So they're the levels that we use in terms of registered categories. So again, just a point to note there to familiarise yourselves with those different pieces of information. I guess the purpose of today is primarily around the NQS and criteria. So I wanted to just align that in some way to show you, I guess, some of the different criteria set out in line with the NQS and relevant to Reps Ireland. So you will come across questions in your online portal around Reps membership and registered staff. And I guess the breakdown of each of those criteria is available on the slide here. Beginning with the achieve level, that 50% of your fitness team is registered with Reps Ireland, and up to 90% for the outstanding award. I've just bullet pointed some of the additional points that will come up as part of the criteria. And again, if you need support with any of these other areas, please get in contact, let us know. We have access to different CPD training for your staff that if you haven't conducted to date, that we can arrange that for you and try identify what training needs you have and get your staff on that continuous professional development pathway. We have materials to promote if you were to look at putting up your notice board around Reps Ireland in your facility. As I mentioned already, we have the job advertisement section available on the website, so we will be able to advertise those for you guys. And as well, if you don't already have them, we can circulate logos to be promoted for Reps Ireland on either social media, on your websites, or anywhere else, maybe around your leisure facilities that you might want. So if you don't have any of those pieces of information already, do get in contact and we can organise that for you. In terms of the pricing structure, so there's a couple of different categories available here. The standard rate for registering an individual with Reps Ireland is €65. So if you've only got between 1 and 3 staff members, it will remain at that, which is 65 per person. If you've got between 4 to 16 staff that are eligible to register, it will increase to 250, and anything over that will be €350. So the more people you put on, the greater the saving. So we'd encourage you to put as many as you can. I guess the key on that there is that they have to be eligible. And again, that refers back to them completing their primary fitness qualification with one of our approved providers that are listed on our website. So we would just make sure that they have achieved the necessary criteria to be eligible to register, and then we'd be able to arrange registration for you. The invoice for that will be issued directly through the office. Either myself or Keane will be issuing those out. And the expiring one, an annual invoice for membership is issued. So to explain that a little bit, if you were to register your staff today, the 5th of May, they will expire the 5th of May next year. And if you had any additional staff to add at a later date, you could add them in August or September, but their expiry will still remain the 5th of May for next year. So you can add them at any stage of the year with no additional cost, but the expiry date will always remain the same. I think the next points that I need to move on to, and I don't think I have too many more slides, so I won't keep you much longer, but just around the non-standard application. So this is something that tends to creep up around the NQS criteria time. So quite often we find with facilities, they might have a list of 10 or 15 staff members, and not all of them would be eligible to have a direct registration with Reps Ireland. So this applies for people who may be completed courses outside of Ireland, or courses maybe that are in Ireland but aren't on our approved list. There is still options available to get those people registered, but it's a slightly different process, I guess. I won't go through in too much detail because I'm just conscious of people's time on the call here, but in a kind of a quick step process, you need to get in contact with us in the office. There's application forms that the member or the applicant would need to complete in terms of mapping their qualification. We would look for a supporting material in terms of certificates, references, CVs, any additional certificates and qualifications that they may have. That information would then be submitted to us and reviewed for approval. There may be a case where we may want maybe a video submission of the person instructing a fitness class, or maybe doing a personal training session, or if the evidence is strong enough in terms of the mapping and the application form, that mightn't always be necessary. So once the application is reviewed, we will be then able to register, or sometimes there may be additional requirements that we need to chat through individually. But if anybody has any specifics around the non-standard applications, do get in contact, and I'm more than happy to jump on a call or anything to explain that further for any facilities that might have those non-standard type applications to the register. I think there is maybe one or two more steps on that there that I've already chatted through in terms of the actual membership benefits then. So I'm not going to go through each one of these individually, but I guess in a broad sense, there's kind of a list of different membership benefits available to those on the register. There's a couple of different ones depending whether it's for the facility and whether it's for the individual themselves or whether it's for an education provider. Each of those are linked on our website, but I've bullet pointed a few here for the purposes of today for the actual facilities themselves. So the number one being there, the quality assurance as an employer that you're hiring within the industry, that your staff members are a part of a professional register. It's contributing, I guess, to the professional standards within the industry, and a couple of other different things there that I won't chat through directly, but you can have a read through those things when you get the opportunity to. So the last thing I guess I just wanted to cover off in terms of reps is if you do have staff that you want to register or existing staff that you want to renew, there's a quick and easy way for us to be able to identify who that is and how to do it. So I guess the first thing that you would need to do is to email our admin at info@repsireland.ie with a list of the names and membership numbers, if you have them, and if you don't, you can check it on that Find a Trainer feature on the website. But if you send us a list of names and membership numbers of those that you want to renew, we'll do our cross-reference on the back end of the system, verify the details. If there's any missing information or anything else that we might need from you guys, we'll be in contact. We'll issue the invoice and the membership certificates will be sent directly to the staff and to the facility. I'll liaise directly then with Eve in terms of the NQS and give her an update in terms of who's registered and how many, to make sure that that criteria for the NQS is also being fulfilled. So I know that was probably a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but again, the slides will be circulated afterwards. And if there's any follow-up questions or queries that you have in relation to reps, either NQS related or otherwise, please get in contact. Let me know. I'm more than happy to facilitate any questions or anything like that, if there is any. And I think I'm going to move to Tina next, who's going to chat through SkillNet.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm going to keep this very short and sweet, I suppose, but I'm just going to talk through the SkillNet and a bit of a summary as to where we've gotten to up until now. So Niamh, if you want to pop to the next slide there. So just the numbers, I suppose, since January 2020, last year was a massive year for the Leisure Health and Fitness SkillNet in terms of training, both on the Ireland Active side and on the Reps Ireland side. So it was really, really positive. So we had 182 member companies take part in training, and we'd 1,980 employed or unemployed trainees. So the unemployed would be anyone who was on availing of the PUP payment at the time. So through SkillNet, they go down as unemployed. In total, we'd over almost 7,000 training days. And then we had 3 non-formal events. So really positive KPIs, and we'll be looking to build on that again this year. So in terms of funding, so just a bit of a summary. So we were guaranteed funding from 2020 to 2022, so for 3 years. So we're working through that now. It was increased from 2019, which has been really positive. And we can offer tailored and flexible programs, which can be in-house or they can be opened up to a load of members of Ireland Active or Reps Ireland. So it really is very flexible. And we try to take the hassle out of e-booking training, which is another advantage. So in terms of Skills Connect funding, we recently sent out an email in terms of booking for courses that we have for that. So this training is free for employees that are availing of the PUP payment. Anybody who's on the EWSS or isn't on the EWS, is just availing of pay as normal, we can offer a 50% discount on those courses on that list. So to book, you just need to email Alma at info@lhfskillnet.ie and she can send you the Eventbrite link to register for those courses. I'm hoping that for June and July, we'll have a new list of training courses, a new calendar. So if there's anything that you want to include on that, please do let me know, and we can try and have that arranged. In terms of general funding for matching, there is a wide variety of courses that we can offer, and these are tailored to members. So again, if there's anything specific that you want for your facility, be that first aid, manual handling, management courses, customer service, and then your fitness qualifications, just let us know and we can try and have them arranged. So you can move on there, Niamh. Yeah, so just in terms of operations, I should have said at the start, I've taken over from Carl as the SkillNet manager with his new role as CEO. So you can contact me on manager@lhfskillnet.ie. Alma has taken over as SkillNet administrator, so info@lhfskillnet.ie. And then you have the steering group, which meets every 6 to 8 weeks, excuse me. So that's how the operations of the SkillNet works. And then where you can find us, so again, email, we have our website as well, which has the calendar, it has training providers, it has all the information you could need on ourselves, on SkillNet Ireland, really good source there. And then we're also on LinkedIn and Twitter, so if there is anything, please do tag, share us, and we're more than happy to get involved that way. So I'm going to hand you back to Carl now, and he's just going to wrap up.
Thanks, Cliona, Stephanie and Niamh. Quite a comprehensive hour I think we've had in relation to a number of the operations we're running across the organisation. If anybody has any questions for us on any of the topics that we've discussed today, please send us an email and we will get back to you immediately. Again, around reopening as well, we're going to have a couple of webinars coming up in May that you'll get an email about. We've got the retention guru, Paul Bedford, we've Guy Griffiths, and we also have Julie Gillespie, who will be giving us some inside tips on how to get reopen and re-engage with your members. So we're going to hold it there now, and we're going to finish up. I'd like to thank everybody for stay tuned with us, and we hope to see you all really soon. We'll be in touch with you again in relation to updates from government around reopening, but if you do have any specific queries that you want us to answer, please send us an email and we'll send them into government for you. Thank you very much and stay safe.